Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. But we were also joined by very special guest and fellow podcaster, Eddie of the Five Wide Podcast. Thank you for joining us, Eddie. How was your Christmas?
It was pretty good, man. First and foremost, thanks for having me. It was real chill, man. We didn't do much, obviously, with the pandemic stuff, so just hung out with the wife and the kids.
Hey,
there you go.
That's all you need. That's all you need, brother. That's all you need. And look, we have a great game coming up for you guys with the Carolina Panthers facing the Washington football team, which they could very well win the division and get a playoff berth in tomorrow's game. So we have a fantastic show lined up for you guys, just detailing, going to depth in the matchup and what we really could see happening tomorrow. But before we get into any of that, I want to start off with our fan questions, and none other than we're going to start with the Colonel, the father-in-law. He has a fantastic question for us.
What region are you from?
Boston.
Fantastic.
I'll start with you, Eddie. Is it worth the risk if Antonio Gibson is iffy with his health? Oh, sorry. Like really slowing up there. But what about you, Reed?
Is it worth the risk? In my opinion, yes, 100%. I think that you have to play Antonio Gibson.
No.
Mm.
Eddie's internet's crapping out right now. It's okay. Keep going, Reed.
Okay. No, I'm gonna go with yes. Is it worth the risk? Look. This game is so important for us, and if we're already going to be missing Terry McLaurin and Alex Smith, you're going to need some playmakers on the offense, you know? I think that Antonio Gibson brings so much to this offense and can really help establishing the run. If you establish the run in this game, you got a very good chance, like we said last episode. So I think that yes, and I'm not going to lie. The Philadelphia Eagles are starting to scare me a little bit with Jalen Hurts back there. I would rather play the Panthers right now than them. You know, I give us a better shot against them than the Philly. It's a division game. You never know. Jalen Hurts has been balling out. We've had problems with mobile quarterbacks. I don't want to have the division come down to us week 17, like you said, Kyle, against Philly. So I say yes. I say go for gold. Why not?
Now, do you think it's iffy, Eddie?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. Obviously, to Reed's point, right? You want to go for gold. I would much rather play this Carolina team than to face this Jalen Hurts-led Philadelphia Eagles team because
Is he coming back? Back?
I feel like
no. You're good.
What's that?
You're good. Keep going.
No, I was gonna say but I would say if Gibson is at least 85, then yeah, you just go for gold.
Yeah, I think you're right. And to Coach's point, where this season is a week by week basis, you can't be looking ahead. You can't be scared of what the possibilities are. So in my opinion, you're playing for the season in this game. Antonio Gibson, 100%. I don't care if he's healthy. You need your best players on the field. I know it would probably be smart to be looking ahead, but if Antonio Gibson doesn't play, if Terry McLaurin isn't there, you're really lacking some offensive production. You can't bank on the defense scoring enough points for you to win. So without a doubt in my mind, I don't care if Antonio Gibson's only 75%. If he's ready, if he can play, put him in that game because the Washington football team needs to win this game. They're not in a position to be pushing off wins. What about you, Hall? What do you feel?
Yeah, I'm the same boat as you guys. I feel like this team, it's been playoff mode for these past couple weeks. Yeah. And when you get into the playoff games and playoff mode, you want your best players on the field for the playoff games and that playoff mentality. So like you guys said, if he's able to go, even if he's 60% healthy, a 60% healthy Antonio Gibson is going to give us a shot in this game because like you said, if we can establish the run, maybe get him involved in the passing game a little bit, just have the threat of him being on the field without Terry McLaurin, obviously, we need some more playmakers out there. So, yeah, if he's more than 50% ready to go and he feels like he can play at least 15 to 20 snaps, get him out there.
Yeah, look, I really like J.D. McKissic. He's done an incredibly good job this year, but, you need Antonio Gibson out there. And J.D. McKissic really did produce much more when he was in relief of Antonio Gibson. It was kind of a 1-2 punch throughout the game. So I definitely think Antonio Gibson should be starting because it's going to help out everyone else. Now, the next question is from our buddy Andy Burrows in the UK. Oi!
Oi!
If you were in charge, let's looking into the offseason. If you were in charge, what would be the top priority in the draft for you, Reed?
I mean, there's so many different directions that you could go. I
Right.
mean, obviously, you want to find that franchise quarterback. Will they
Mm-hmm.
be able to pick somebody there? I'm not sure, depending on if they won the division or not. They may be a little bit out of reach there, but I mean, like we've said before, you can look, obviously, quarterbacks are where everybody wants to go. You could use a linebacker, you could use a left tackle, you could use a second wide receiver. I could see a second tight end. There's a few positions out there. So, I mean, I would say, though, that first and foremost, obviously you want to find your quarterback. Will they be able to with where they're picking? I don't know, but I would say quarterback's number one.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to have to take a page out of Doc Walker's book and say it's in the trenches. I think it's going to be in the offensive line is really where you need to bulk up, possibly losing Brandon Sheriff in the offseason, because I was thinking about it today. You know, should they re-sign Brandon Sheriff? Yes, of course, 100%, but with the injury history, it kind of concerns me. And what about the compensation pick? If he were to walk and go to another team, that could be valuable in next year's draft after that. So, in my opinion, you go offensive line. We've seen with this team how thin they are at offensive line. They've gotten lucky this year with Wes Schweitzer playing incredibly well. But you need more depth in that position. I know they're getting Sadiq Charles back next year, but I feel like offensive line's the way to go. What about you, Eddie?
Yeah, I'm gonna lean pretty much towards what you just said. I'm all about building from the inside out, right? So we can essentially draft our quarterback or who we think is, but if you can't protect them consistently, I think you're gonna run into issues. So yeah, I'm always big dudes first.
Big dudes first, baby. I love it, Eddie. What about you, Hall? If you were the GM, if you were Kyle Smith, Ron Rivera in that room, what would be your top priority for the draft?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a couple holes that do need to be filled, but my priority is going to be probably going somewhere with a linebacker. Obviously you've seen this year that we don't have guys like Cole Holcomb in the game or KPL, who KPL is pretty average, but we need more depth. But when those two guys aren't in the game, it seems like teams can just run all over us. Our defense definitely lacks a little bit, and we need that sideline to sideline kind of playmaker on the linebacking core. And I definitely think if, depending on where we pick, obviously, obviously I'm an offensive guy. I love offense. So if there's an offensive guy, the playmaker there, I would love to see that. But again, I'm more worried about the defense going forward, and you can build in the offense as far as like getting guys that fit your system in later rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right about that. Now, Burrow's next question was, and I'll stick with you, Hall, when will the QB drama end in D.C.?
Man, that's a good question because I feel like it's been drama my whole life.
Never.
I would like to say maybe after this upcoming year, because I do think we're going to draft somebody, but I think that going forward, we're actually going to sign a veteran or make a trade for a veteran, and we'll draft a young guy to kind of be groomed and become that guy later on. So, yeah, my hope is that after this year, but again, it's been drama my whole life, so I wouldn't bank on it.
Right, and that's how I kind of feel about it. What about you, Eddie? When will the QB drama end?
I would like to think next year, right? I think they'll move on from Haskins. I do think they'll trade for a vet, hopefully draft a guy. Now, obviously, because of our win-loss total, I don't think we'll be in that prime position to get one of the top, quarterbacks. So even if we do draft somebody, there's not that pressure on that person, especially if you could bring in a veteran or if you keep an Alex Smith, right? So they can just sit and learn without that expectation or that pressure to come in early, and thus causing that drama and that quarterback carousel yet again. So I'm fingers crossed next year.
Yeah, and look, that is fingers crossed. In my opinion, Burrows, I don't think it will end until the owner stops picking the quarterbacks that he wants, and when the fan base stops being in love with quarterbacks that don't deserve the love, because that has caused controversy between the fan base and animosity for no reasons whatsoever, in my personal opinion. But once that changes, I think that's when the QB drama will end in DC, when people have stopped having so much in-depth and production into a quarterback. They care too much for that position in particular, where it needs to be part of the machine. It's not the only part. You know what I mean? What about you, Reed?
I mean, yeah, it's not the only part of the machine, but it is the biggest piece of the machine in terms of players. It's the most important position in sports. Will it end anytime soon? Probably not.
No.
Just knowing us, I mean, no, nothing's ever going to be good enough. It's almost like those Philly fans where it's like, you got Carson Wentz right there. The dude was an MVP candidate. I know he struggled this year, but one season playing him out wrong, and I know he's had his injuries, but I mean, it's frustrating, but we've never not had quarterback controversy since I've watched this team. So I don't know if
Shit.
history to me has never proved us.
Right. Even going back to Jay Schrader and like Doug Williams, back in
Right.
those days, there was still a QB controversy. So Burrows, I don't think it'll ever stop, to be perfectly honest with you, because history has told us it's not going to.
The only way it stops is when you get guys like Pat Mahomes, Aaron
Right,
Rodgers,
right.
and guys like that they're going to be around for 10 plus 12, I'm saying, years like that. So
And when you're in a big sports media like DC, as opposed to Kansas City, Green Bay, those places, it's always going to be tough. It's like being in New York or something,
yeah.
You're absolutely right about that. Now
I know.
we're going to the questionnaire. Mr. Jesse. Unfortunately for Jesse, he did not get any Washington football team gear like I did from his family over the holidays, which I'm sorry, Jesse. Sorry to hear that. But his question was, what was your favorite Christmas present from this year, Hall?
I'm probably rocking it right now. I got this as an early Christmas present.
Ooh.
My brother and his girlfriend got me this Washington football team sweatshirt. Bang, bang.
Bang, bang. Hey, I love it, dude. What about you, Reed?
Well, I mean, my favorite present this year was, definitely probably the sun. That's pretty cool. But then also, I mean, you gotta get a little leg lamp. Look at it. It's delicious.
Fragile.
Yeah.
Fragile from the
Nice,
Christmas
nice.
Story. Everyone loves the leg lamp. What about you, Eddie? What was your favorite gift from this year?
My wife got me this this huge like butcher knife. So I'm big into like grilling, like steaks and.
Yeah, I saw his Twitter. I saw his Twitter yesterday. He posted a picture from it. And he had some
Yeah.
huge ribeyes on the grill, dude.
Hey.
Yeah, them Jones were looking good.
Yeah, look, it's hard for me to pick a favorite Christmas present, to be perfectly honest with you, because I got the cap, I got the beanie, the Washington Salute the Service black beanie, and then I got this one. But this was the baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was the one I wanted so badly because how good it looked. And so I'm so thankful that I was able to get the Washington Salute the Service sweatshirt, because I know I'm hearing from people that they can't even find it online right now. It's all sold out. So look, I absolutely love the gift, and great question from you, Jesse. Hopefully your family turns around and gives you a Washington football team gift here in the near future. Now, his next question from Jesse was, since Terry is out, who needs to step up in his place? I'll start with you, Reed.
I mean, obviously Cam Sims is somebody that you want to rely on. I mean, he's proven that he can be an effective player in this league. Now, will that happen without coverages kind of rolling towards Terry? I don't know. But I mean, big news today, they released Dontrell Inman and promoted AGG. So I think that they do want to get AGG involved in some sense. I mean, but Steven Sims is going to have to step up. I know he's probably my least favorite player right now, my least reliable player. So I can't expect anything of him, but yeah, without Terry, man, it's going to be very tough. It's going to be very hard, but you're going to need a big game from Gibson if he plays. McKissick, Logan Thomas is going to be the most targeted player on the team. Cam Sims, everybody's going to need to step up, but it'll be the usual suspects.
I
took everybody.
Yeah, I know you got to take everybody from what the heck, dude? And
That's what I do.
What about you, Eddie? What is one guy that needs to step up in relief of Terry McLaurin if he cannot play? Oh, is he frozen again? It looks like it. Look, I'll take it off here, and I think it is Logan Thomas, even though Mike Reed had to steal it from me. I think it's Logan Thomas. I think he's going to be heavily targeted again, even if Alex Smith isn't even in a game, because we were kind of worried about Logan Thomas under Dwayne. When at the beginning of the season, he wasn't targeted heavily, but last week, we saw that Logan Thomas was Dwayne's baby, and they linked up a lot. And without Terry being in the conversation, Logan Thomas is going to have a big game, and especially because the Carolina defense is not very good against tight ends this year. They are good against the run and everything, but it's the tight ends that really kills them. What about you, Hall?
I'm going to go with Dwayne Haskins because I think that he's going to be the starter over Alex Smith this upcoming Sunday tomorrow.
Ooh.
And I think that we're going to need to see a game like he kind of played in the second half where he's more in rhythm, hitting guys out the backfield, hitting guys, like I said, in rhythm. So I definitely think that he's the key to this win because I think the defense is going to do what the defense does. I think that if Gibson plays, he's going to get in there and make a couple plays here and there. But I think that the key to this game and the key to this win, which is crazy after this whole week has been going down, is going to be Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, and I know Zoom keeps crapping out on you, Eddie, but who was your player?
Yeah, I was thinking Dwayne Haskins, right? Because I feel like the offense is going to go as he goes. I do feel like he will end up starting. As much as I want Alex out there, but so if Dwayne goes, it's definitely him. But if not, and we can get Alex out there, I think Logan Thomas is going to be crucial to us scoring and then ultimately winning.
Yeah. And that was a great question from Jesse, as always. And his next one was, how do we feel about the video that the Washington football team released on Instagram showing the walkthrough practice and Alex Smith behind center taking reps? A lot of people talked about he looked like he was favoring that leg. It looked like it was still maybe affecting him, impacting him a little bit. Reed, what is your feeling from that video?
Yeah, that video kind of worried me. That was the first thing that I thought when I saw it. I was like, he doesn't look close to 100% right now. I mean, you could tell he's trying to mask it a little bit, trying to hide it, or maybe he's just a really good actor. But it's very concerning going forward. I mean, anytime you come off of an injury like that and you have issues that are popping up 2 years later, it's terrifying. You know, that was a very serious injury. So I hope for the best, but it didn't. He didn't look good. I don't expect him to play this week.
Yeah, and I said this on Twitter earlier today. In that video that I saw, it wasn't how Alex looked. It was the balls that were being thrown. Were they
Nothing
accurate?
under him,
Were
right.
they hitting on the chest? Was it going into the hands? Was it being overthrown, underthrown? And they looked to be on target. Granted, there was no defense. He wasn't being rushed or hurried at all. But my thought feeling is when he was in the game at the beginning 2 weeks ago, he was very irate. He was throwing the ball everywhere, was very inaccurate, and now he said it was because of the injury. He did not have the feeling in his leg to be able to get that done. What I saw in that video was that he did have the strength in the leg to be able to make those throws. So in my opinion, I thought it was encouraging. I know everyone thinks it's, oh my goodness, well, this is crazy. I think that might have been due to how cold it was. I mean, they were practicing in below freezing temperatures yesterday. So it would make a lot of sense that guys are kind of not running full speed because it's really, really cold. What about you, Eddie? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. What about you? What's your feeling from that video?
Yeah, I even put on Twitter too that I felt like he was moving gingerly. But to your point, yeah, the ball was getting to where it needed to be. He didn't seem to be underthrowing or overthrowing.
Yeah.
If he does play based on what we saw, I think his short to intermediate routes should be fine. You know, minimal push off. He can get there with his arm if he needs to be.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that. And then the last question that we have is from Jolly David. How many yards will AGG have now that Hall had talked about it earlier, that they have released Dontrell Inman and activated AGG off of the IR, so he will be ready to play for tomorrow's game? How many yards do you expect him to have, Reed?
Antonio Gibson, or did you say AGG?
AGG.
Oh, see, I don't know. It's tough. We haven't seen too much of AGG, in the passing game. I know he's a fantastic run blocker, but I think that there's a reason that they released Dontrell Inman, who's somebody who they felt that they could rely on. So AGG must be showing them something, but I'm going to go with 50 yards, and I think that'll be a pretty good game for him right now, just with where he's at. Somebody's going to have to step up. I hope it's him. That would be fantastic in place of Terry, but he hasn't shown anything yet, really. I mean, he hasn't been able to get out there much. He hasn't been able to show what he can do. So I don't expect too much, but I think 50 yards or plus would be a pretty good game for him.
Yeah, that'd be a fantastic game in my opinion. What about you, Eddie?
Yeah, I'm gonna say 4 catches, 45 yards, something like that. I don't expect a whole lot from him.
Yeah, honestly, I would see him having. I'm going to say 60 yards. I'm going to go over you guys, but I don't think it's just going to be receiving. When we saw AGG early on in the season, he was used a lot as the motion man, as the end around on jet sweeps, and that's how I could kind of see them utilizing him. Because one thing about Carolina is they have a very underrated pass rush with Brian Burns. Their pass rushing. So, what is the best way to be able to do that? Slow them down with running the football. Making them think before just immediately going for the pass rush. So I think AGG could be using that jet sweep motion a lot. And then if Terry isn't there, Ron Rivera likes these big, tall wide receivers. I think AGG will be heavily utilized. I really do. I think it'll be between him and Logan Thomas and J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson. I think those guys will really benefit. So I'll say around 60 yards. I don't think he's going to blow the lid off, but I do think that he will be targeted, and it will be the short intermediate game. What about you, Hall?
I actually think the complete opposite. I think that he might maybe get like 5 snaps, maybe 7 snaps at the most.
Smart.
I mean, you still got guys like Isaiah Wright, Steven Sims Jr., even Robert Foster still in front of him, I feel like. So I just feel like if he does get on the field, he might have maybe a catch, maybe a run. So I'll go 20 yards max, 25 yards. But I do think that if he gets on the field, it will be significant in the run blocking game.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, maybe if we get down to the red zone, maybe they throw him a fade or two. But that's how I see him getting more involved. But as far as just the gameplay and the flow of the game, I see him maybe topping out at 25 yards.
And honestly, that's probably the most logical take.
Yeah,
To be perfectly honest. I mean, because like that's the one thing I'm worried about, is that
Yeah.
AGG is just going to be massaged and he's not going to immediately come in and help. But that's at a position that they're going to be needing some productivity at, and they're going to need a spark out of something. And in my opinion, I think that AGG could supply that based off what I've seen.
Right. And I do think that them releasing Dontrell Inman to call him up is pretty big, because Dontrell Inman's a veteran in this league. I mean, he's definitely reliable for them. I mean, that's why they brought him in here. And for them to just be like, all right, we're out, AGG, let's go. I know
I feel
Inman
bad
hasn't
for
been
Inman.
used much lately, but
I was going to
hopefully
say,
that's a
you
good
also got to
sign.
think that Robert Foster's pretty much took Inman's job as well, because Inman's the one that's been deactivated the past couple of weeks. It's been Robert Foster's
Yeah.
been on the squad. So
Right.
them releasing Inman was kind of like par for the course because he's not being used anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's why I think it's kind of like maybe like next week if we can win on Sunday and then against Philly in week 17, that's when you'll see more AGG
Right.
getting worked in, because
Just
you know
kind of get him used to it.
exactly
Right.
he'll be the focal piece of the offense going forward in that game. Get him some game time stuff. But yeah, as far as this week, I just feel like it's such a big game and it's like so much on the line. I just feel like
You don't want to
if
rely
he does,
on that.
you don't want to rely on someone that just came off of IR as a rookie.
And is unproven. Right.
dude, we should start recording on Saturdays more often. Hall's just coming up with the logical takes left and right, man.
Yes, stop it. You're
Right.
supposed to be, you're supposed to be a pond hitter.
All right, but I have a question for you guys. The team also announced today that Steven Montez is activated, so they will have possibly 3 quarterbacks for the game tomorrow. What do you guys believe that means? And I'll start with you, Reed. Like, do you think that means that Alex Smith isn't a go, and it's going to be Dwayne starting with Montez backing him up?
Not necessarily. I think that they could very well still go with Alex and start things off and see how he feels, see how he looks, because it's a day-to-day thing. Who knows? Maybe all of a sudden he just feels fantastic tomorrow and he can go. And I think that maybe if he struggles or if he looks like he did 2 weeks ago, they'll be like, all right, Alex, you got to take a seat. I'm sorry, man. But so I could see that being a situation. But either way, I think that it's just like they're just being cautious with Alex Smith right now.
It's really weird to me, to be perfectly honest, because earlier in the week when all of the controversy was going around with Dwayne and the COVID possibly being suspended, nobody knew if he was going to be able to play for this game. And then practice comes out and Taylor Heineke took starting reps in practice that day with the ones, splitting it with Dwayne essentially. And so everyone's sitting here saying, okay, well, Taylor Heineke's going to get the nod if it's not Dwayne and Alex can't go. But then they call up Steven Montez to be the third quarterback. So that kind of makes you sit back a little bit and say, what's going on here? And that tells me that Alex is playing, to be perfectly honest with you. I think Alex is going to play, Dwayne's going to back him up, and Steven Montez is there just in case something gets worse with Alex throughout the game, and then Dwayne has to come in and they need a backup just in case, if that is the situation. What about you, Eddie?
Yeah, I definitely found it weird because I kind of thought Heineke, if they were going to have 3, or if Dwayne's going and then there's a backup, it would have been him. So yeah, it's a little head scratching that Montez got called up. But yeah, so I guess.
Oh, internet crapping out again. It's all good. What about you, Hall?
I don't know. I was kind of 50-50 on it. I thought that him getting called up was kind of a sign that Alex Smith was going to be not playing, and it was going to be Dwayne with Heineke backing him up, or Dwayne with Montez backing him up, and
weird.
Heineke. But actually, you kind of sold me on your theory. I think that it is a sign that Alex Smith is going to start the game off, and Dwayne's going to be the backup. And if Alex Smith really can't get the job done or doesn't look as crisp or as good as he should, I think that they're going to pull the plug on him, and then it'll be Dwayne and Steven Montez as the backup. So, yeah, you kind of sold me on your theory. I was going to go somewhere else with it, but
You are right, though, Kyle. It is weird that they did call up Montez instead of Heineke. I mean, just based off of everything that you've heard with Scott Turner being fairly comfortable with Heineke running his offense, just you'd think that they would want him in there. But I guess maybe they just want to get Montez experience for something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, Montez is also he's a more mobile guy. So
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I
true.
feel like maybe worst comes to worst, if he can't go through his progressions, he can provide with his feet, maybe. But
Yeah.
that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, because when you think about it, I know Heineke has not been here very long, but he does have the kind of cohesion with Scott Turner. They played with in Minnesota. He played under when Scott Turner was a QB coach in Minnesota. Scott Turner brought him into Carolina. So they have that cohesion there. They know each other. But Steven Montez has been here all year. And I feel like just based off of the playbook this week, Montez is the smarter plug for the backup spot because you don't have to limit your play calls. You know what I mean? You don't have to take your binder from being 6 pages and turning it into 2 because Heineke's in the game. With Montez, you can keep it at 3 or 4. It just gives you a little bit more wiggle room, in my opinion. So let's start breaking down this game. And the one aspect I love to talk about, I love to bring this up every week, is the player on the opposing team that concerns you the most. And Hall, I'll start with you because you always have a great one.
Offense or defense or what?
Yeah. What one player from Carolina that concerns you the most heading into this matchup?
Man. They're a pretty explosive offense as far as the weapons they have with Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson, and DJ Moore. But with that being said, I will go with Mike Davis because as you just saw last week against Seattle, we had a chance to win that game, but the run game is what killed us.
Mm-hmm.
Russell Wilson killed us. Chris Carson killed us, and who's the other guy that was running? Oh, Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde killed us on that one run. But, yeah, I think that the key to this game is going to be stopping the run. Mike Davis is a kind of a bigger kind of bruiser back kind of guy, but he's also has a little finesse to him, so he can definitely break it out and bust one on you for like 30, 40 yards downfield. So, yeah, again, going back to what we know, you hold the team to under 100 yards rushing or the running back under 100 yards rushing, team usually gets a W, so that's my key player.
Yeah, what about you, Reed? Who's your key player to look out for?
I'm just going to go with Teddy. Old touchdown Teddy Bridgewater. Just because Teddy's so good in the short to intermediate game, and a lot of times when offenses have beat us, like the Giants and some of these teams, the short game and the running game have been working. And since Hall took Mike Davis, I'm going to say the short game with Teddy B and his lack of arm strength, and those fantastic wide receivers that they have that can just make plays after the catch. It's unreal. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Teddy in that passing game.
Yeah, and if you didn't go with Teddy, I was going to steal it. One tidbit I heard from Steve NFL is that last 5 weeks, Teddy Bridgewater's been one of the best quarterbacks against blitzing and being hurried. So that is a huge concern going into this game. But for me, the person that I am most concerned about is DJ Moore. Next Gen Stats has DJ Moore as the fastest ball carrier with the ball in his hands this season with 21 miles an hour. The dude is lightning fast. And when he gets the ball in his hands, it can be an issue. And we've seen that the Washington football team, they'll give those guys some space. They'll give the wide receivers some space. But the issue being tackling at the point of attack. Being able to have those one-on-one tackles, Cameron Curls displayed it perfectly. But we saw last week with that Carlos Hyde run that the missed tackles kind of showed themselves again. I'm not sure if that was a product of Seattle's offense, just, bleeding them out over time and them getting tired. But that is a huge asset to me. I'm very concerned about DJ Moore. If they can kind of nullify him, I think they have a very good chance in this football game. What about you, Eddie? What is one player concerns you the most?
Yeah, I was going to go with DJ Moore there, but since you did. No, it's cool. And I was also going to bring up the Teddy B and his completion percentage against the pass. But, Robbie Anderson too, right? So he can get busy on you in a heartbeat. I think they have a good complement of receivers. So it's going to be getting to Teddy and getting him off his mark and making him uncomfortable. But you got to do it smartly. But, yeah, I can see Robbie Anderson having a big day.
Yeah, and a lot of credit to you for picking Robbie Anderson because one of the issues for the Washington football team on defense this year was them getting beat downfield. We saw everyone keeps saying we just watched the Lions get shellacked by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and everyone's saying, how did we lose to this team? Well, they had 2 long passes downfield that were a huge concern, and that is where Robbie Anderson really does specialize in his deep downfield. So that great point by you, Eddie. I like that one a lot. Now, one area or facet of the game that the Washington football team has to dominate in order to be putting themselves in position to win, Hall.
I think that Eddie just hit on it. You're going to have to get pressure with Teddy Bridgewater, but kind of without putting the blitz on him. I can see him definitely using 5 defenders and 5 rushers, but no more than 5 rushers. I would like the front 4 to get after him and kind of have those linebackers drop into coverage to help with those explosive receivers in the short to intermediate routes. So I definitely think that, and again, the key to this team always winning games is the front 4 dominating the game. So if Chase Young and Montez Sweat can get after Teddy Bridgewater off the edge and Jonathan Allen can keep pushing in that interior, I think that we have a great shot.
Yeah, and I watched from Next Gen Stats. I saw that Mike Davis last week against Green Bay, the best player, offensive lineman that he ran behind was the left guard spot. And so, to your point, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, those guys are going to have to do a good job against the guards to be able to nullify Mike Davis. So, what about you, Reed? What is one area or facet of the game that they have to dominate?
I mean, obviously, I was going to say the pass rush getting to Teddy B is huge, but I'm just going to have to say that somebody is going to have to step up on offense. Somebody's going to have to go out there and be the guy that Terry McLaurin is. I know you can't beat Terry, but you're going to have to be a big play guy that goes out there, makes some plays early, and really scares his defense so other guys can get the ball. Because without Teddy, man, I'm telling you, I'm this game went from like okay, I feel very, very good about it, to the DC fan and me being nervous and being like, all right, here we go, great, something happened. So I just think somebody else needs to step up opposite them.
Yeah, for me, it's running the football. And that's where it all comes down to, because regardless of who you have at quarterback, you're going to have to run the ball against Carolina. You have to make them respect the play action, be able to hit the ball down deep. Their starting corner is one of their starting corners is out, so they're going to be using a backup there at one of the corner spots, and you can really take advantage of that. But the fact is, they're not good enough in the passing offense to be able to do that all the time. So you have to build up the run enough to be able to have the play action off of it. It's going to make the offense so much better. And the one issue for me is we can't go back to what happened last week with Dwayne throwing for 55 times. That's not the recipe for success of the Washington football team. It's running for over 100 yards and the quarterback having for less than 200 passing yards. That is the best way to win these football games. So running the football is the one key aspect for me. What about you, Eddie?
So I'll kind of piggyback off that, right? And I'm going to say time management, right? If you can win the time of possession, keep Carolina on the sidelines, that limits what Teddy Bridgewater and those receivers can do and what their run game can do. But yeah, it's going to have to come from the offense. I believe the defense will hold them, but like that one group, it's going to be the offense, long drives, and then you're going to have to score points.
Yeah, defense can only hold them for so long before the offense, before it just breaks.
Get worn out.
Right. That happens almost every week.
Yeah. And let's talk about the injury report here for a second, because I did pull this up. I wanted to talk about it. A couple of people from Carolina, that is a huge point of emphasis. Russell Okung, Troy Pride Jr., and Christian McCaffrey are all doubtful for the game tomorrow, which is huge. But the other issue is bring Brian Burns, him being questionable at that pass rushing spot for them. But do you feel better about this because Christian McCaffrey is not in the game?
I kind of figured that Christian McCaffrey wasn't going to play. I mean, I have him in a fantasy league, of course, and somehow still in the championship league. In that though, that's Burrow's league, the DC Tweet Team league.
You're in the championship for that one?
Yeah, the first pick, and I got McCaffrey, and then there's 20 teams in that league, so somehow, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just dad. But no, yeah, I really didn't think McCaffrey was going to play. But of course, you got to feel better when they don't have Christian McCaffrey. When they have McCaffrey, that just brings a completely different element to this offense. And with our weaknesses being the short passing game and the running game as of late, that would terrify the hell out of me. But I didn't think he was going to play anyway, so I'm all right with it.
Not that big of an issue to me, because honestly, that running game hasn't missed a beat really without Christian McCaffrey. I know that he obviously
I think it would be better, obviously, but it's still doing very good. Yeah.
But like with Christian McCaffrey on the field, they're kind of more predictable because the ball is going there. Where without Christian McCaffrey, they've kind of had to adapt and target DJ more and more, go to Ryan Anderson a lot more. So that's where, to me, it would be easier to predict what they're going to do if Christian McCaffrey is in the game, in my opinion. What about you, Hall?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to echo what you guys said. I didn't really expect Christian McCaffrey to play just because he hasn't played all season. What would be the point of bringing him back for the last 2 games of the season to possibly, injure himself more or create another injury? So, yeah, with all those couple of guys you mentioned being out, that's par for the course at this time of the season. So it's no big deal, and I still expect, like I said, the front four to kind of do what they do and the defense kind of do what they do.
Yeah, 100%. Eddie? Looks like he's frozen again. Hey, one thing, I don't want to talk about this too much, but it's something that I did want to gloss over. And because it was a huge talking point earlier in the week, I want to leave this dead in the past. I don't want to keep bringing up old things. But
what happened? Did Dwayne Haskins do something?
Haskins got fined $40,000, and there's a good chance that he's going to be playing in this game. So, Reed, I want to ask you, do you think that was the right decision by Coach?
Yeah, I know a lot of people are putting out this, Ashburn's gotten to Ron Rivera. Ashburn, it's still the same. Stop, shut up. Just shut up. Ron Rivera owes it to these players in this locker room that have worked their ass off all season long and want to make the playoffs. These guys have a legitimate shot. Nobody thought they'd have a chance to win the division. They have a legitimate chance. If Dwayne gives you the best options to win, I completely agree with it. Clearly, Ron Rivera knows what he's talking about. But yeah, that whole Ashburn's gotten to Rivera. He said he was going to change the culture. He hasn't changed anything. If he's going to start Haskins, shut up. He owes it to these players to win. If Dwayne's the guy that's going to do it, he's the only guy that he has confidence in. So I don't blame Ron Rivera. He got fined. He got the sleeve stripped off his chest. I mean, so far it was the biggest fine to date from COVID. So, I mean, $40K, that's a pretty good amount of pocket change. Not as much as Dwayne spent at the strip club probably, but it's a good amount. So yeah, I'm okay with it. I like it. People need to shut up about it.
What about you, Hall?
Yeah, I was trying to think of how I was going to explain this because I was like, I thought we were going to bring this up and talk about it at some point. And it's kind of pretty much what Reed just said and echo what he just said. But it's also, like you said, it's kind of like, oh, he's going to change the culture and it's Ashburn's getting to him. But no, if there's one person in the locker room that just wants to not change with the times and change with the culture, then why punish the rest of those other guys in the locker room for somebody that's not even going to be on the team next year, let alone if he gets us this win this week, he has to play. Alex Smith will be back for the playoffs. So it's kind of like we just need him for this 1 week, and then we can push him to the side, and he won't be talked about ever again until he gets traded. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with what Coach did. You know, obviously, I'm one of the people that's been hard on Dwayne ever since the offseason. I have been very vocal about it because I felt like that with the leadership needed to grow there. And obviously, he took a step back. But there is a fine line between getting to a player and being able to discipline a player and then kicking a guy while he's down, dragging him through the mud. And I know as a fan base, we have a knee-jerk reaction, emotion with everything, and everyone wants to say, cut him, cut him, cut him. There are things that warrant somebody being cut, like a drunk driving incident or domestic dispute, whatever have you. That is a recipe for getting cut. This type of thing is just a stupid mental mistake that he should have been able to think about before. But that doesn't warrant him getting cut, in my opinion. I think it warrants him being stripped of his captain patch and being fined a lot of money. Deshaun Watson was fined, I think, like $7,800, and then Dwayne was fined $40,000 by the team. So that tells you that it was a hefty price tag. And so I think that Coach did this the right way. He's not ruining the team's chances of winning this game on Sunday because of Dwayne. Because like Hall said, there's no reason to like cut your nose to spite your face. Is essentially what you'd be doing with disciplining Dwayne, not letting him play in this game. So I think stripping of the captain on the chest is a huge point of emphasis. But my question on top of that is, do you think the players had a say in that? And I'll start with you, Eddie.
That's hard to say. I would like to say yes, but I also trust in how Ron Rivera handles his business anyway. So that one, I don't know. I can't really give an answer to whether they had a say in it. I'm sure opinions were expressed. Logan Thomas kind of alluded to it earlier in the week, and he pretty much just said, like, you know, I don't think he went about it the right way. I mean, it's been handled. Move on. He just needs to play if he's going to be given that opportunity. So it's hard to say if they had a hand in him having that C taken off his chest.
Yeah, and the reason why I want to ask that question, because the players voted to have Dwayne be the captain. And so my question is, was it Coach rescinding that, what the players voted for, or did the players go to Coach and say, hey, we are okay with doing this. We think this should go down and this should happen. What do you think about that, Reed?
I think Rivera definitely talked to some of the guys about it. I think people like Jonathan Allen and some of these just real leaders in the locker room, I think were definitely talked to about it, and Ron got their opinions. But I think regardless, Ron was going to do it just because Ron knows what he's doing, and he wanted to make a point. So I think he talked to the guys about it, but ultimately it was Ron's decision. And I do know, I'm pretty sure after what Logan Paulson told us about how vocal he would be towards Dwayne, you know, some of these guys had something to say to him. Alex Smith, even you talked about Logan Thomas. I know he talked about it. Alex Smith said he was disappointed in Dwayne, but it is what it is, leave it in the past. So, you know, some of these guys talked to Dwayne about it. And I think that Ron really took notice of that and was like, all right, dude, you can't be a leader if you're doing this shit.
Yeah. So. What's called Logan Thomas had an interview with Kelsey Nelson, a former guest of ours that was on. And he talked about with Dwayne that the way that Dwayne can get back in the good graces is by going about it the right way and working hard and getting a W this Sunday. And that made me scratch my head a little bit because I'm like, okay, does that mean that Alex isn't playing? That Dwayne is starting? That you know that? So that kind of was weird to me. But what about you, Hall? What do you think about that? Do you think the player said something to Coach?
It's funny you mentioned that because when I saw that quote from him, that's what kind of clicked in my head that, oh, Dwayne is going to be starting this week because he kind of I feel like he kind of let the beans out of the bag, but didn't really mean to. But and I think that's why they put that clip out this week to kind of be like, no, look, Alex can throw, look. But that being said, I think that Ron Rivera, I don't think that he got the input from the guys. I think he told them this is what I'm going to do to him because look, he worked for, as far as the fine goes, they work with the NFL to like do that, all that punishment stuff. So if anyone has a problem with the punishment, you should have a problem with the NFL because they work with the NFL to do that stuff. But as far as the captain getting stripped, I think that he was already going to do that regardless because that's the kind of guy Ron Rivera is. And obviously, if you're a captain of the team, that's not what captains of the team do. They don't put themselves first over the team. So I think that Ron Rivera was going to strip it regardless. He probably told the Terry McLaurin, a Chase Youngs, a Jonathan Allens of the team, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. What's your input on it? And how do you feel about it? Which they probably like, hey, do what you do, coach. So, yeah, that's how I feel about it. I feel like he was going to do it regardless, whether the players had an input or not.
Yeah, and that's a great bit by you. But before we get into our predictions for the game and ripping that all down, let's flip the script a little bit, okay? Because a big report came out during the week, and a lot of national media people have a big opinion about this, and that was the piece that came out about Dan Snyder thinking that one of the minority owners is trying to extort him out of being the owner of the NFL. So, Hall, I want to start with you with what your opinion of that piece was. And then the other news about the Washington Post article saying that some woman in 2009 got a $1.6 million lawsuit from Snyder because she apparently accused him of sexual assault on a private plane. What is your kind of opinion on that? Do you put much stock into it? Do you think that Dan Snyder's saying that people are trying to extort him? What do you think?
I'll kind of work backwards from those two questions. To answer the second one, it's kind of crazy because $1.6 million is a whole lot of money. But that being said, if you're asking for that much and you got that much, something might have happened. But again, there's also been plenty of times where people with that much money just kind of just be like, take the money. I don't even want to deal with this, even though I didn't do it, even though I'm not guilty. It's just I don't want to deal with this headache type of thing. So it could be that, or it could be something major really did happen and she just got a lot of money for it because that was some hush money. But I'll probably go with the first of the two, where he was probably lawyers were probably just like, look, give her the money. Don't even deal with it. Don't have it blow up in the media, blah, blah, blah. But to answer the first part of the question, if he's getting extorted, it's kind of crazy. I know you had the whole theory behind that back going to the summer, that it was kind of like something shady going down behind the scenes involving Dan Snyder and him getting like harassed and extorted by these other guys. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy if it is. And, I mean, hey, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, it is what it is. Like, if he's getting extorted, obviously he should not be getting extorted, and he should be like getting justice for that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's Dan Snyder, so who knows, man? He's crazy.
Yeah, look, because what happened was back in April, Dan Snyder said, all right, I'm cutting off your dividends. You're minority owners. You're not going to be getting any revenue. You're not getting any profit. You're not getting any money from me. 3 minority owners were like, what the hell, dude? So they filed suit to be able to separate themselves from Snyder. At that same time, the lawyers for those guys were messaging Snyder's lawyers, telling him that they were going to put so much dirt on him that he was going to be forced to sell. Do you guys realize how stupid that is? How stupid that, because you're telling them you already know about the sexual assault allegations that are going to be coming out, meaning that this is an extortion case. It's doing exactly what you're saying it is. And look, I have been very, very adamant about my disdain for Snyder and the way that he has conducted himself as the owner of this team and how he's treated the fan base. But I did say I felt bad over the summer because what I was witnessing. And what I was witnessing was a disinformation campaign to tarnish his name as much as possible to make him look like Richardson down in Carolina to force him to sell. And that's how I saw it, and that's what we're starting to see right now. What about you, Reed? How did you feel about that article that came out?
I'm not allowed to talk about it. I was paid $1.6 million in 2009 to not speak on it. So I'm going to have to pass. No, like you said, Kyle, we talked about it a little bit. And I'm not one to defend Dan Snyder ever, but I almost felt like it was a witch hunt this summer. Like it was bad. And I know a lot of people that probably rubbed the wrong way because nobody wants Snyder, in here.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like anymore, but fair is fair. I think that it was a little crazy what went on this summer, and it's still going on. Yes, you're 100% right. That's extortion. Yeah, I mean, come on. Who knows about the 1.6 mil? I mean, besides my bank account, it's not even that big of a deal, I mean, I just got paid a slight amount. No, but it's 100% extortion. Stupid move by these lawyers. You're supposed to be a lawyer. You're supposed to know the law. You're supposed to know this stuff. So I don't get it. I think that's ridiculous if all that stuff is true. And you got to kind of feel for Snyder a little bit here. If he had a heart, you'd be like, what are you doing? I feel bad for you.
Right. What about you, Eddie?
Yeah. I pretty much like everybody else, right? I don't really care for the guy. I mean, he's got his own, crap that he's done to the fan base the whole nine. So, that's, we're pretty much in agreement there. But yeah, I mean, I did kind of feel bad for him in that regard, as far as everything did kind of look like he was being extorted. So, to Reed's point, what's fair is fair. But ultimately, if you just operate like an adult and you run the franchise the way you're supposed to, most people shouldn't even hear about you. You know what I mean? You just kind of move in the background, sign the checks, kiss babies. Like that's all you need to do, so that still speaks to him and just the mess that he just continues to put himself in. So hopefully this stuff just gets behind us so we can move forward again, just as a franchise and him as an owner. And, poor Ron Rivera. I mean, having to step into all this.
Another thing, it's not like he was down there getting cranked down by masseuses in Florida. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's ridiculous how the NFL works.
Yeah, and then Dan Orlovsky on Christmas Eve comes out with that tweet saying, I've said my piece and that Dan Snyder needs to be outed from the NFL. The NFL talks about the players needed to uphold themselves to the shield, being representative to the shield. I came back and I was like, what are you talking about? Are you sure you want to have this conversation? Peyton Manning was accused in college. That woman ended up actually getting fired. Jameis Winston was accused in college. He ended up getting a settlement with the woman. He's still playing. Big Ben chased a woman around with his wang out in the bathroom and paid her off, and he's still playing in the NFL right now. So Dan Orlovsky, shut up, go to bed. Stop talking about the Washington football team. I have a disdain for Dan Snyder, but the thing is, I'm not going to look at somebody and tell them that they need to sell their car because they shoplifted when they were 5.
Right.
That's not how the America works. That's not how this country works. It's not how business works. If he's getting forced out, it's because he wants to get out, and he did something incredibly crazy. The other owners, Donald Sterling is an idiot, and Jerry Richardson was doing something insane that he should have never even had the opportunity to do so. This other stuff is insane to think that it is a way to force Dan out, that he reached a settlement with a woman. So that means that he did it. That means he did it. That's not how things work in the adult world, Mina Kimes. That's not how things work in the adult world, Dan Orlovsky. Please get a different job.
And we didn't even touch on Jim Irsay. Jim Irsay's out there spending his franchise's money on a vacation house to buy drugs with his mistress, who ended up ODing and dying. Like, it's like, really? Like, come on, you're going to go after Snyder for all this stuff? Yet Jim Irsay is still in the good graces. Robert Kraft's still in the good graces of the NFL. All these people. And Dan Orlovsky, he's just mad at the Washington football team because he was dead wrong about Dwayne Haskins. He went on this big thing about Haskins earlier this season about how he was amazing. And he just got upset that Ron and Co.
He blamed it on the O-line.
Good. Yeah.
Remember that? He blamed on the O-line.
Yeah. It's just Dwayne.
Yeah, and
meanwhile, the O-line's been playing like a top 10.
Fantastic.
So I mean, was it really the O-line?
No, it wasn't. Yeah.
But let's get away from there because I'm getting all hot and flustered whenever I talk about the national media. I cannot stand them. But let's get into our predictions and the MVP for the game. So, Hall, I'll start with you. What do you think the score is going to be? Who's going to win? And who is going to be the MVP of the game for Carolina or Washington? Either or.
Man, oh man. Game of the year, biggest game of the season. Hey. Who would have thought when this – well, of course I would have thought because I picked this team to go like 7-9 this year, which they're on track to do that. But
you did.
I backtrack. I digress. Mm-hmm. For week 16 against Carolina, I think that we're going to pull it off. It's going to be a close one. It's going to be a nail-biter in typical Washington fashion. I think that it's going to come down to the last 2 minutes, 3 minutes of the game in the fourth quarter. I think that the defense is going to do what the defense does. They're going to hold them. They're going to hold them. Montez Swatt's going to come up big, maybe knock another Swat another ball down or something like that.
Trademark
maybe Chase
that.
Young. Yeah, maybe Chase Young. You should have traded that. Trademark that.
Mhm.
Maybe Chase Young gets a game-winning sack or a game halting sack to end the game or whatever to stop the drive. So I'll go score of pending quarterback. I'll say Dwayne's probably going to play quarterback. So I'll go. We score 27 points to Carolina's 23. MVP of the game, surprisingly, after the crazy week and ridiculous week that he had, Dwayne Haskins.
Oh wow, that's a very surprising one. I do think the Washington football team will win this football game. I think that what's going to happen is that the run defense is going to show up. I think that they kind of learned a lesson last week that you can't be complacent and you think you're just going to walk in the second half and be able to shut everything down. They learned early on in that second half that they will rip off runs on you. You just have to be able to tackle. And they kind of nipped it in the butt from then on there, and it ended up losing them the game. So I think in this game, they're going to come in with a point of emphasis to say, we're going to stop everything on the ground and force Teddy Bridgewater to throw the ball on us. And that's where I think the defense could come away with some big interceptions in this game. So I think the Washington football team is going to win 24-17. I do think Teddy Bridgewater is going to have maybe 2 touchdowns, cheap at the end of the first half, like usual, and then the Washington football team runs through them, and being able to get some in the second half. But my MVP of the game is going to be Logan Thomas. I'm gonna go with the guy with the hot hand. I got to stick with my boy LT, Virginia Tech boy. That's what I'm going with. What about you, Eddie?
All right. So I'll say final score 28-21. Washington wins. I'm going to go Logan Thomas as well. Just seeing kind of the rhythm they were getting into last week. If they kind of pick up where they left off and then keep feeding him until Carolina stops it, I can easily see him right around that 12 to 14 catches for over 100 and a touchdown.
Now, look,
God, I have him on fantasy. I need to catch up so bad.
Look, hey, because you pick Logan Thomas, I'm going to switch mine up. I'm going to go Tress Way. See, I told you I was going to do it yesterday. No, seriously, though, Tress Way is he should have been to the Pro Bowl. I don't know how he didn't get nominated for it. He's been one of the best
punters. He gets slept on so bad.
I know. He's one of the best punters in the league. He does an incredibly good job. And his field position, being able to pinpoint guys inside the 20, I think could be a huge point of emphasis for this team. Just being able to have the field of possession and winning that battle. Now, Reed.
You know what you must do.
This is the way.
You know what I gotta
this
do.
is the way.
This is the only way to do it. And I don't care who gets mad at me right now because every time we've done it this way, we have ended up winning the game. I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers are going to beat the Washington football team. They're going to be up 17-3 at halftime. Washington's going to come storming back, but they're going to fall 3 points short. Carolina's going to win this one 24-21, and our MVP is going to be Teddy Bridgewater, who's going to spread the wealth around to this plethora of wide receivers, and he's going to have a pretty decent day with the short passing game that they're going to break big.
Yeah, they are. And it's funny because none of us have talked about Alex playing in this game. It's almost like going through this pod, we've all kind of convinced ourselves that it's going to be Dwayne starting at quarterback.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. No, yeah. But real quick before we go, guys, I want to talk about the NFL in particular. The D-Jax is coming back, and he's going to be playing this weekend for the Philadelphia Eagles. If the Washington football team doesn't get a win tomorrow, how concerned are you facing against that Eagles team that seems to be healthy, Reed?
I already talked about it, man. Philly is... It's not like I'm scared of Philly. It's just they're playing so much better. And then they did week 1. And ever since Carson Wentz got benched, Jalen Hurts has been fantastic. We have a problem with mobile quarterbacks. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really want the division to come down to us beating Philly next week. You know, that would be tough. But I mean, would I be terrified? No, it's just I would rather just get the W right now because I could see a division game against a mobile quarterback who's on a roll right now being a very tough game, especially in Philadelphia, whether there's fans or not. It's always tough. So I just don't want it to come to that.
Now, Rock and that white 21 there, Eddie, we know all too well about the Week 17 games against Philly and that white uniform with 21. So what do you think about that matchup?
I don't want it to come down to that, to be honest. We need to just wrap this up Sunday. We need the Giants to lose earlier in the day, but no, I'm not looking forward to playing that Philly team. I can see Deshaun Jackson actually being a big factor because
Yep.
Jalen Hurts can move around, and most DBs can only cover for 2 to 3, 4 seconds at most. And I think Jackson can get loose, and they got Jalen Reagor, young guy, underrated tight end in Dallas Goedert. So, I mean, they're playing with the full complement on offense. So you don't want to face that at the end, so.
And Djax always seems to burn his former teams.
Yeah, I was
every time he plays them. Every time.
He'll find a way. He'll find a way.
Always.
Always does. But look, in my opinion, no, I'm not worried about it. We did it in 2015, and we did it back in 2006. So, look, I don't mind if they do it again. I would rather them get it done tomorrow, and I do think they are going to get it done tomorrow. But this Washington football team is a different crew. I think they're going to walk into Philly, and they're going to punch him in the mouth if it does come to that. And we've seen it before. Time is a flat circle. I think that they'll just whoop ass again and be able to get into the playoffs. Because, look, I've said it many times. This is a team of destiny. And they are proving that they are the team to win the NFC East. If it's not going to happen tomorrow, it's going to happen next week. I just want them to do it tomorrow so we don't have to wait another week. I want to see Ryan Kerrigan. I want to see Chase Young with those NFC East champion hats on tomorrow after the game, smiling and have a good time. Hall, you are always good with this kind of stuff. What are you worried about?
I'm kind of with Reed where I would be super worried about that game going into week 17 just because obviously it would come down to us or Philly for the division because they're going to have something to be playing for because in this scenario, they're going to beat Dallas tomorrow and we lose tomorrow and then it comes down to us and Philly for the division. And
Dude, I was watching NFL Network today randomly. I never watch NFL Network, but those 3 panelists came up, the ones that keep picking Washington to lose every week. Do you know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. And the one dude that sits on the left, they started detailing the Cowboys game. This man said, "Everyone knows I'm an Andy Dalton guy. I'm an Andy Dalton mark. I think he's gonna get it done." I was like, "Oh, no wonder." Like, no wonder, dude. This guy is openly talking about how much he loves Andy Dalton. No wonder you can't pick football games.
Right.
No surprise there, in my opinion.
No, but yeah, I mean, Djax coming back doesn't really scare me because if you've seen him the past year or two, every time he comes back, he gets injured in the same game that he comes back. So you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, nah. But I am worried about Jalen Hurts because he's a mobile guy. We have trouble with mobile quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts has been on fire recently. He was one of my favorite quarterbacks coming out in this draft. I thought he was going to be really good, and he's proving it. So, yeah, I definitely would be scared coming down to week 17. Do I think we'd be able to get it done? I think it would. It'll be a tough matchup. And like I said, I'd be scared because of Jalen Hurts. He's a playmaker and a mobile quarterback. But, yeah, I'd rather just get it done Sunday so we can rest our guys up which is crazy to say. We can rest our guys up.
Yeah. And I absolutely love the fact that they just gave a buttload of money to Carson Wentz, and they've now benched him for the rookie quarterback. So now they are stuck in this kind of, just second world, not knowing what to do. And really,
they can trade him to Indianapolis, Frank Wright. Get him back on track.
You think Indy will trade that much for him?
I mean, they're going to need a quarterback. Phillip Rivers, this is last year. They're going to need a quarterback going forward. They don't have trust in Jacoby Brissett, or else they would even brought Phillip Rivers in. Sure. So
if
Frank Wright, Carson Wentz is Frank Wright's guy. Whenever he was playing the MVP level, Frank Wright was coaching him up as a QB coach. So that's the only way that Philly gets out of this.
I thought Frank Wright was a D coordinator.
Nah, he was the QB coach for Philly.
Yeah. If any team does it, it's Indy. Other than that, I don't see any team taking on that contract. Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
That's how I was seeing. I was like, I don't think anyone's going to actually trade, not only trade assets, but also take on that huge contract. I don't know who would do it, but to Hall's point, that makes sense.
And if you look at it, if you put Carson Wentz back with Frank Wright and he gets back to any type of remnants of the Carson Wentz, that's a Super Bowl team ready to go off breaks right there.
That's a good offense with good receivers, a good running game, a nice young defense. Yep.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. You can plug and play Carson Wentz. They're off to the races in the AFC against the Chiefs. So that's what I'm saying. And that's the only way Philly gets out of it. I'm hoping that they don't do it because I want to see them suffer. So
I'm right there with you, Hall. I just want to see them suffer. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to the Carolina Christmas episode of the Burgundy Zone. I'm sorry that we pushed it to Saturday, but it's the holidays, baby. We got to enjoy this. So thank you to Eddie of the Five Wide Podcast. Go and check him out on Podbean. You can see him all over the stratosphere. Eddie, I really do appreciate you joining us tonight, sir.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me. It's been fun. Sorry about the internet issues. I don't know what's going on today.
I have them all the time. Don't worry about
it. We've all been through it. Trust me.
There's no such thing as a perfect episode, Eddie. It just something always has to go down. It's just being able to get through it, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. please go and like and subscribe to us on YouTube, on iTunes, Spotify, Google Pods. We are everywhere, also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find us there. All right, everybody. Hopefully, Watch Football Team gets a W tomorrow, and we'll be back on Tuesday with the interim fan, Keith. Our good friend will be with us on Tuesday, so don't miss out on
the
that.
dude that everyone just goes crazy over on Twitter because he like starts all this crazy stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man,
He's the biggest troll on Washington Twitter.
The
Yes,
troll. That's what I
Keith.
wanted to add. He's like the biggest troll on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah.
That should be a good one.
Yes, it should. I'm sure. Hopefully, Reed will be able to. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to control Reed. That's what I'm worried.
Why? What am I doing?
What am I doing? All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. Washington football. Woo!
Let's get this done.
Washington football. Woo!